Namaste children. Welcome to another interesting class on ICT. How are you all doing for today? So, are you all prepared for another class? Come, let's get started. So today's class we are going to see about more on C language, our chapter 6 in grade 8. In previous chapter, we have seen about Introduction to C language, and the title of the chapter was Programming with C. So in that particular chapter, we have seen about the history of C language, what are all the features of C language, and then we have also seen about how to write a C program by understanding what is the basic structure of a C program. Followed by it, we also saw about the input and the output functions in C language. So in today's class, as the name implies, more on C language, we are going to see about some other additional features or some other statements in C language. So before going into the chapter, children, we always write a program to satisfy a particular requirement. For example, when do I require a program to be written? So whenever I want some instructions to be given to the computer, that is, I would wish the computer to do a task for me. Let's assume a scenario here and then understand how to convert it into a program. The scenario here is I wanted to add two numbers. You may wonder, addition of two numbers? For this, do you require a program? Yes, children. Whenever I had to add a two-digit number, yes, it's easy for me to do it. But whenever there are multiple digits, that is, whenever I have some seven digits to be added, it takes some time for me to add it. Yes, but for that purpose, what can we do? Usually, you go and you click on your calculators. Yes, but when I'm using a computer, and in specifically, if you see, when I'm using an application like calculators, these particular additions are done by the inbuilt programs of it. So this is one such simple scenario which I hope you understood. So in this, why do we require a program? Because the computer is going to do the task for you. Okay. So now coming on to the second scenario. Okay. I need to do the addition of two numbers in the first scenario. And what is the second scenario? You may wonder. So the second scenario is I have a 32 students in my class. How many students? 32 students in my class. And my requirement here is I need to check if all the 32 students have passed in the computer science exam. So children, you may ask, ma'am, is it easy to do that? Yes. When I have only one class and 32 students, yes, it is easy for me. But actually what happens in reality? I have to go to multiple classes, and in all the classes I need to check if my students have passed in computer science exam. Understood the scenario? Yes. Now let's understand, or let's just see why is that learning of other statements in C language is important. So children, so far you have only learned about the input and the output functions in C language. Now, what are we going to do? We are going to learn about the statements in C language. That is, a C statement consists of keywords, expressions, and other statements. The C statements consist of keywords, expressions, and other statements. There are two types of statements in C language. One is a simple statement, and the second is your compound statements. If you take a simple statement or a single statement, it ends with a semicolon. So far, we have seen about the printf and the scanf functions, you remember? And also we have seen about the other functions like CLR, SCR and GetCH. All these functions are or can be called as a single statement or a simple statement because it ends with a semicolon. And also if you see int a is equal to 10 can also be considered as a simple statement. But what are these compound statements? The compound statements is a series of statements enclosed with the braces, enclosed within a braces. So, one such example which we have seen so far is your main function. If you see main function, after the main function we had a left braces, and after that, once I completed writing my entire program, I just closed with my right braces. So this can be called as a compound statement, but I'm giving you an example. Okay. Actually, if you see main function, as the name implies, this is a function. So same way, inside the main function, we will be using this compound statements. So these compound statements is nothing but a series of statements enclosed with the braces. Okay. So we are going to see in detail about this compound statements only. If you take the compound statements, one such type of compound statement is your control statements. What is it? Control statements. What is the use of the control statements? As the name implies, the control statement is going to control the execution of your program. Is going to control the sequence of execution of your program, to be very specific. Control statements are used to change the sequence of program execution. How to understand this? If I have a set of 4 statements inside my main function, C compiler is going to execute the statements in sequence, one after the other. That is, after my first statement is executed, my second statement will be executed. After the second statement, my third statement will be executed. And after the third statement, my fourth statement will be executed. But when I introduce a control statement in between, my order of execution of the program is going to change. In going forward, you will understand how this happens. So basically, the control statements are of 3 types. One is conditional control statements, unconditional control statements, and your looping statements. What are those? Conditional control statements, unconditional control statements, and your looping statements. So now let's see about the conditional control statements. The conditional control statements are used to change the sequence of a program execution based on a condition. Based on a condition. Conditional control statements are used to change the sequence of a program execution based on a condition. And you are seeing that there are 4 types of conditional control statements as shown in the figure. Conditional control statements can be either a simple if statement or an if else statement or a nested if statement or an else if statement. But before moving on to this, let's come back to the scenario which we have taken at the beginning of the class. I told you that I have 32 students in my class, and what should I do? I need to check whether all of them have passed in my computer science exam. So what is that I'm going to do here? I need to check if they have passed in the examination. So obviously, when I have to convert or write a program for this particular scenario in hand, what should I do? I have to make use of these conditional control statements because I am going to check for a condition if the children has passed or not, right? If the children have passed or not. So what can be the condition in hand here? If your computer marks out of 100 is greater than 15, I consider you have passed. If not, you have failed in the examination. Yes. So as you have seen, the conditional control statements used in C language can be of 4 types. That is, there are 4 conditional control statements which can be used. One is your simple if statement, then the if-else statement, then the nested if statement, and the else if statements are four types of conditional control statements that are available in C language. So you may wonder what is the difference and how am I going to choose the conditional control statement from the four types which is available. So here I am going to give you a clue. So children, the first set of statement or the first conditional control statement that we are going to learn is a simple if statement. What is a simple if statement will do is, it is only going to check for one condition. I repeat, simple if statement is going to check for only one condition. So this particular if statement can be called as your simple if statement. Come, let's see the syntax of it. So the syntax of it is if condition, statement 1 and statement 2, which means that if one and only my condition is true, the statement 1 and the statement 2 will be executed. Look into the flowchart given beside that. So condition true, statement 2. So entry point, what will happen? It will check for the condition. If the condition is true only, the statement 1, after that the statement 2 will be executed and it will come back to your statement X and the next statement. If the condition is false, none of the condition will be, that is, my control will not go inside this if statement and it will go directly to my statement X and to the next statement. Understood children? Can I repeat it? Okay, listen now. So we have the if condition, statement 1 and statement 2. After that we have the statement X. So what happens in a simple if statement is, when the control comes inside this if statement, it checks for the condition. If the condition is true, your statement 1 will be executed and then the statement 2 will be executed and it will come out of the if statement and your statement X will be executed and so on the next statements. But if your condition is false, my control is not going to go inside my if statement itself. It is going to directly come into your statement X. Hope now you are clear about this. Then comes an example to check whether the given number is even or odd. Okay, so what is the example here? The example is we need to check if the given number is even or not. Let's understand how the program is being written here. So first, the structure of the C program, you have to include your header files, then your main section, void main. Before writing the program, first let me explain you how this can be done. So you have a number in hand. So first thing is you need to either assume a number or you can get the number from the user. Once you get the number from the user, how to check if it is an odd or even number? What you have to do is, you remember we have studied about the modulo operation. What does the modulo operation do? The modulo operation will return you a reminder. If the reminder is 0, then the number which we have considered, what we have to do here is the number has to be modulo with value 2. If the reminder is 0, then it is going to be an even number, and if not, it is going to be an odd number. Let's see how it can be done in the program now. So what I do is, I declare a variable called n, and which data type? Integer data type. So CLR SCR is your clear screen function. Then you have your printf, enter a number. I have already told you that every scanf statement should be preceded by a printf statement. Then once I get the number and I save it in my variable n, what should I do? I have to check n modulo 2. N modulo 2, if it is double equal to 0, then printf entered number is even number. If n modulo 2, remember the not equal to operation, is not equal to 0, printf entered number is odd number. Then you will give your getch and you will close your program. So there are two sample outputs which is given. First, the user 1 is going to enter a number called 6. So my control is going to come and check if n modulo 2 is double equal to 0. That is, 6 modulo 2 is double equal to 0. Is the condition true? Yes. Then your printf statement, enter number is even number, will be executed. But is it required to go to the next if statement? Yes. The control will go to the next if statement also. So if 6 modulo 2 not equal to 0, what happens here? The condition becomes false. So directly it goes to the getCH function and the program terminates there. Hope you understood this. Now let's move on to the next next type of your control statement, which is if else statement. So any and if statement with else is called as an if else statement. That is just the definition. But children, in the previous example, they have given you like they wanted to check if the number is even or odd. And what is that we have done there? We have used two if statements separately. One if statement, what did we do? If n modulo 2 is double equal to 0, we said printf the number is even. And again we used another if statement wherein we checked for the second condition also, telling n modulo 2 not equal to 0. So in the same program, we have checked two conditions by using two separate if statements. But what happens in this if-else statement is, in the if-else statement, the condition 1 and the condition 2 can be checked in the same statement. So if condition is equal to true, then the statement 1 will be executed, else statement 2 will be executed, and it will proceed to your statement yes. So this is how your if-else statement will be used. During the process, the condition is evaluated first. If the condition is true, the statement 1 will be executed. Otherwise, your statement 2 will be executed. After execution of entire statement 1 and statement 2, your statement X will be executed. Now, let's move on to the next set of statements. Before that, let's see an example here. For example, now we are going to see the same scenario wherein we are going to check if the number is even or odd. But the only difference is, instead of using two if statements, we are going to use one single if else statement. Look at the example. Void main int n. We are declaring a variable n. CLR SCR. After that, we have the printer enter a number and we are getting it and saving it in n. Now, if n modulo 2 is double equal to 0, printf it is an even number. Remember children, in the previous statement, if statement, what will we do? We will be checking for another condition if n modulo 2 not equal to 0. But here, since we are using an if else statement, after this, immediately we are having an else statement and then we are just giving printf it is an odd number. Hope you understood the difference. When I have to check for one condition, I go to my simple if statement. When I have to check for two conditions, I use my if else statement. Then what is this nested if statement? An if statement inside another if statement is called as nested if statements. So this kind of statement is used whenever I have to check for more than one condition or more than two conditions. For example, if condition 1 and then inside it only I'm going to give if condition 2 statement 1 else statement 2. So are you able to find out the difference here children? I'm going to use a simple if statement and an if else statement in the same program. And finally, you have another else, statement 3 and statement x. So whenever I have to check for multiple conditions, I can use this nested if statements. And now, let's move on to the next. So how does this particular execution happens? During the process, condition 1 is evaluated first. If condition 1 is true, then condition 2 is evaluated. If condition 2 is also true, then statement 1 is executed. If the condition 2 is false, the statement 2 is executed. If condition 1 is false, then it automatically goes to the statement 3. After execution of any of these conditions, statement X is executed. Now let's understand this with a simple example. I'm going to check if biggest of three numbers. In this, I'm going to assume three numbers A, B, C. Clear screen, printf, enter the value of A, scanf, percentage D, ampersand A, and then enter the value of B, scanf, percentage D, B. That is, I'm getting three values from the user. If A is greater than B and if A is greater than C, I take one number and I check with the other two numbers. If A is greater, then printf A is bigger, else printf C is bigger. Else, what am I going to do is I'm going to check B with C. Printf B is bigger, else C is bigger. Hope you understood the example. Now, the final conditional control statement is your else if statement. If else if statement 1. See children, here and what are we going to do is the same kind of nested if statement only can be used in the form of your if else if statement. And else if is also another type of nested if. In else if, the second condition is evaluated one and only when the condition 1 is false. So let's understand the sentence here. If condition 1, statement 1, else if condition 2, statement 2, else statement 3, and then the statement else. So what happens here? During the process, condition 1 is evaluated first. If condition 1 is true, then the statement 1 will be executed. Otherwise, it directly goes and checks if the condition 2 is true or not. If condition is true, then what happens is statement 2 is executed. Otherwise, your statement 3 is executed. After execution of any one of the statements, statement X is executed. Here is an example for it again. What am I going to do is I'm going to get a character from the user. And if I'm going to check if it is a capital letter or it is a symbol or it is a small letter. Okay, this is the scenario. Hope you are clear with it. What am I going to do? I'm going to get the character from the user and I'm going to check if it is a capital letter or a small letter or a symbol. So how to do this? First I declare a variable called ch with the data type char because I'm going to get a character. Then I'm going to get the character from the user by using a printf statement. Followed by that, I will be having a scanf statement. If my character is between A and Z, that is, which is greater than A and less than Z, then I am going to say that it is a printf capital letter. Look at the and symbol, children. Here we use and, children, and to check your logical operation. That is to do a logical operation and to come to a decision. And finally, what is that? We are also going to use three types of else if statement. That is, we are going to check for the small character A and the small character Z, and also we are going to check for the numbers between 0 to 9. If all these conditions becomes false, then finally your else statement will be executed. Hope you understood the conditional control statements. There are four types of conditional control statements: simple if statement, then we have if else statement, nested if statement, and else if statements. Now, one type of conditional control statement is your switch statement. Whenever I have to make a choice, that is, I have four choices, and whenever I have to make a choice, then I have to go for the switch statement. The switch statement is an extension of the if else statement. The switch makes one selection when there are several choices to be made. The direction of the branch taken by the switch statement is based on the value of any int variable or expression. Look at the syntax. Switch variable, we have case, constant 1, statement 1, break. Case, constant 2, statement 2, break. Case, constant 3, statement 3, break. And similarly, we can have n number of cases and the statements, but every statement has to be followed by a break statement. And finally, you will have your default statement. The break statement used inside each case of the switch causes an intermediate exit from the switch statement and continue on to the next statement outside your switch statement. I repeat, what is the use of the break statement? The break statement used inside each case of the switch causes an intermediate exit from the switch statement and continue on to the next statement outside your switch statement. Now, let's see an example. What is the program? The program is going to illustrate the switch statement. So, I'm going to be asking the user to enter a number between 0 to 9. And I'll be just printing the same number using the characters. Let's understand now. So what am I going to do is I'm going to get an input from the user. If case 1 is printf 1, if case is 2, that is if the user enters 0, I'm going to printf 0. If the user is going to enter 1, then I'm going to printf 1. The same way till 9. If the user in case enters a number which is not in this particular cases, then my default will be printed. Hope you understood this. So children, in today's class, we have seen about the conditional control statements, in which we saw about 4 types of conditional control statements, and finally we saw about the switch statements. Hope the class was interesting. The other part of this chapter will be continued